Keeping score with Rick Horrow, we talked about a lot of different international games businesses. This is a game that basically transcends the border, but it also is an entirely different perspective. We have a commissioner who on April 29th of last year began his tenure of the Canadian Football League after being the executive director of CBC Sports, Jeffrey Orlidge. Dirty little secret, he's a Philadelphian, he's an American. He's risen to one of the highest sports positions in Canada and certainly competent to take that on and even more. How's that for an intro?
That sounds good to me, Rick. I think the other thing worth noting is that I'm certainly an American by birth, and now a dual citizen. So I'm both American and Canadian. So I think I've got a unique perspective on the game of football, as similar and as distinct as they are from each other, the CFL and the NFL.
Jeffrey Orlidge, you most certainly do. And the bottom line is, you started in 1986 as a corporate associate at Rogers & Wells. Did you ever think that, 30 years later, that you would be running a football league, let alone the Canadian Football League?
I would never have contemplated this. I've always had a passion for sport, and even as a corporate lawyer, I was always looking for opportunities to pursue my passion. I had played football and up until high school, and played basketball, baseball, ran track. So always been interested in sport, but certainly the opportunity to pursue this as a career, it's exceeded my wildest dreams. Even having been involved with USA Basketball with the first Dream Team, and then running global sports marketing for Reebok and going on to build a sports brand for Warner Brothers and all those wonderful sports-related things, I never thought that I would be a commissioner of a major sports league in North America, and certainly not being the first black commissioner of a major sports league, which I think speaks to the progressiveness of the CFL.
Yeah,
I'm really
I think
happy
so.
To be here and be involved.
Well, certainly the first black commissioner of the CFL was something that we were, or of a major sports league, is something we would have brought up later on. But the fact that you bring it up early means it's incredibly important to you and everybody else. But football is a platform for social change. So not just that, but the progressive violence against women policy last season, the You Can Play partnership with LGBT issues, community service CFL players to do throughout the year. So it's not just talking the talk, it's walking the walk as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things that I'm most proud about in being part of the CFL is this is nothing new for this league. It has historically, traditionally, been a very progressive league. We had the first black quarterback in professional football with Bernie Custis. And so I think this is fairly consistent. But I think you mentioned a couple really good points, that our violence against women policy was the first ever of its kind, and it's really a reflection of 5 of the CFL teams instigating this years ago in terms of awareness, raising awareness and support for victims of domestic violence, and talking to youth about being socially conscious, and there being no direct correlation between masculinity and certainly violence or disrespect against anyone, particularly women. The You Can Play partnership is particularly important to us because it is about creating a safe environment for anyone to participate in sport, regardless of sexual orientation. And of course, we continue to push the envelope in terms of being progressive off the field as well as on the field, and using sport as a platform for positive social change.
Really important in that context as well. The business perspective, most Americans understand it's that game up north with 3 downs and a 1-point rouge. But they don't quite understand that there are more similarities than differences between the NFL and the CFL, especially from a business perspective. Television, market support, stadiums. The core dimensions of the NFL and CFL business structures, I guess we would argue, are essentially similar. Major similarities, major differences, what would they be?
I think major similarities is we are in the business of sport, and we are in the business of providing exceptional content and having athletes perform at their highest level. So the things that we are doing collectively are we're trying to make the game better, whether that's in officiating, and we've just partnered with the NFL on an officiating exchange program where we will send 6 officials of ours down to participate in development training with the NFL, and they will send 6 officials up here to get more snaps and work with us in preseason and during the season games. So we'll have that exchange of best practices and also just real life experience. It's very difficult for officials to get together and get that experience without these kinds of paradigms set up. We're also focused on health and safety, right? Because our players, we want to make sure that they perform optimally. So instituting player health and safety refinements, spotters for players who may be in distress. So things like that. Once again, very progressive and just helping to improve the game.
I guess the biggest differences are zeros. I guess you could argue from a television perspective, from your market perspective, you have markets like Saskatchewan. The NFL has markets like Green Bay. You have Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, so big ones as well. But as far as expansion, limited resources from your own perspective, what would you say is the biggest challenge facing the league and you as commissioner?
Well, you know what? I think it's more about opportunity, and I think the opportunity is about getting that next generation of fans, which is one of the things that anyone in professional sport is focused on. Making sure that pipeline is continuously filled with avid fans and taking those casual fans and converting them to avid fans and taking the potential fans and making them fans. And by providing more offerings, opportunities to participate not only in stadium and in games in a very social environment and drawing them in and getting engaged in that way, which is why we focused on new and renovated stadiums, but also doing online activities such as fantasy gaming and providing more stats and content online and more opportunities to engage. So I think we're all really focused on the same thing, and that is keeping the fans that we have and meeting and exceeding their expectations on a regular basis and also attracting new fans.
Jeff Orlidge, CFL Commissioner, television incredibly important. The fact that you were the executive director of CBC Sports no doubt helped in the choice of you as the commissioner of a 100-year-old league, 104-year-old league. Where's TV go in the future? Is it more important than it was before, and what are the trends there?
Yeah, I think television is just as important as it's ever been in terms of that medium, but it's a linear medium, and I think that the lines between linear and digital are being blurred more and more every day, and I think there's also more competition in the marketplace for eyeballs and attention. So when you look at TV as a medium, I think it's important that it's still broadcast. I think that live sport, live entertainment is still beachfront property. And so we understand that wherever people can consume it, that's where we need to be. But we also realize that consumption habits are changing dramatically. I've got an 11-year-old son who consumes most of his content online, so that's where we need to be. We need to be in the digital space. We need to be leveraging social media presence. As well as linear TV. I think linear TV is here to stay. I think that people still gravitate towards the best screen available, but the opportunity to consume on mobility is more prevalent and more meaningful each day, and that's where we need to be.
Final question for you today, Jeff Orlidge, Commissioner CFL. Where is the league, in your estimation, 10 years from now?
Oh, we are a globally recognized brand 10 years from now. So the CFL although we've got a 104-year-old tradition of a Grey Cup, which I think, certainly exceeds the NFL by several decades, we still have room to grow. And 46 to 48% of our players in any given year are from the U.S. So I think there's a huge market in the U.S. We have a relationship with ESPN where they televise our games. But I think greater market penetration there, providing more access and more opportunity for people to be engaged. Football is the number one sport in North America. So why shouldn't it be that way with the CFL? And I think the CFL is a unique offering. We've got a larger field. Our dimensions of the field are bigger. It requires greater speed, greater agility because of those dimensions. So the type of players that we have up here have necessarily tailored their game to a more agile game. We play with 12 players on each side. So the rules are slightly different, but football is football, and I don't think there's anything more fundamental than running, throwing, and catching a ball. And the kind of excitement that's generated in this league, half of our games last year were decided by 6 points or less, and more than a third of our games were decided in less than the last 3 minutes. So when it comes to unpredictability, I don't think you can get better and engender more excitement than the CFL game.
Ligue Canadienne de Football, LCF, the guy runs it, and he runs it well. Jeff Orlidge, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks so much, Rick. Appreciate it.